have a hole through it. You read through it and you go through the tunnel, kind of idea. It tries to play that out, and it's an early attempt to have it as the actual experience while you read it, or as you read through it. So I want to read you the blurb for tonight. By the time Man Loving Men, an earlier book, a gay sex guide and conscience book, was published in early 1977, its author, Mitch Walker, was nearly a year into his growing alliance with Faerie, who was mentioned earlier, who was the co-founder of the original Mattachine Society in 1950, and it had been almost as long since Mitch had composed his new essay, quote, Visionary Love, unquote, which first appeared on the cover page, on the title page, in the January 1977 issue of Gay Sunshine magazine, long defunct magazine, used to come out regularly. This essay and two sequels, all published together in 1980 as his book, Visionary Love, a spirit book of gay mythology and Trans-Mutational Faerie, chart a course into the deeper waters of gay-affirmative psychology, from humanistic worthiness to relations with the divine. I was not fully satisfied with where it had all taken me up to that point. You know, others around me were seemingly more fully fulfilled. It wasn't like I wasn't feeling fulfilled by the world that I've been able to enter into and become more and more integrated. So in tonight's conversation, Mitch will explore the context and intent of this newer direction and touch on aspects of historical continuity leading to the emergence of contemporary Uranian psychoanalysis and its theory practice today. And I'll also read from the book and answer questions. So I want to encourage you all, if you find anything extra curious or would like anything more in terms of information, or have any questions or anything, I'm going to try and not yap all the time so that we have a chance to also communicate about being in the here and now about all this stuff too. Because even though I want it to be out more in the open. So that's one purpose, to have it be here in this sense. It's public, it's being recorded, there's a quote unquote audience, you're listening more or less, I'm talking more or less. That's important to happen, that's not happened. It's important to happen around these audiences. It was important last month around Men Loving Men. And it's also important around Visionary Love as well. But it's kind of different because the works are different. They represent different levels of development and all that. So as we get more into it, we might find interesting experiences. I want to encourage you to stay open to that as we develop into it. It comes out of the world that more and more becomes the radical fairies. We've touched on earlier presentations, I've touched on the world of the radical fairies and what that was about and what it was like. And that kind of stuff, because that's what's important to convey. So I'm hanging out with you now. Otherwise you can read it in books. You're going to be able to read it in books. Or it will just become the dust of history. It's what I'm trying to be with here, that more immaterial, qualitative aspects and feeling aspects and the sense of things that otherwise is the quickest to die out, the quickest to disappear. It's certainly harder to attain from just the book of it. You just have the book. And that's much more true of this book than I would say the regular kind of books. This is a much odder book. For those of you who haven't been exposed to this current month's topic, this book, or last month's book, or the one we'll go into the pamphlet, I'm presenting this material because it's on the reading list for the advanced training program. Right? Isn't this on the list for this month?
Yeah, this week.
Right, see? So because it's on the reading list, I thought, oh wow, that folks will be reading this, or in the training program will be reading this book, but as it's just a book. It's just a thing. You pick up any book. This is just a book picked up. But it's different if the author is still around. You know, it may not be, right? It could be just boring as hell. But it could also be interesting. I want to encourage you in terms of if that brings up any questions or interests or curiosities in an interview. You know, it's not just to be passive listeners. Are feeling that way. If this was in the fairy world, we wouldn't even have, this would be horrifying to have you all sit in rows. So wear this necklace to honor that world, not do this now. It's part of that world of a very large collection of very beautiful necklaces, but this one is a political old-timer. That otherwise never comes out. I have to wear a wig now and funny scarves, and you know, it would not be like this. I wouldn't allow it to be like this. I would not dress like this. I wouldn't allow you to sit like this. I would not allow you to just sit and listen to me. When we think about things like, for example, now it might be called postmodernism in the sense of deconstruction of perceived ways or received ways of understanding. That's not actually postmodern at all. There are many traditions that involve a deconstruction or jumbling up of received ways of being and seeing. And this book ties that in with being gay as a way of being queer. For all those of you who understand it more from ideational traditions or theoretical traditions, or various traditions that we understood, you know, come from various spiritual traditions, we can also understand it. In these, if you're ancient spiritual traditions, they might be actually very, in our terms, modern Western terms, strongly sexual. But they're more integrated than we are. In our terms, they're more integrated. So they wouldn't describe it that way, talk about it that way, to talk about it in that kind of way, or bring that in specifically or particular. It's not alien to other kinds of ways of being what we would call gay-centered. Okay, but this represents a big step over the earlier book, Men Loving Men. It's basically a kind of combination sex guide, how you actually do it for guys who want to turn on guys. And it's a history at the same time of all around the world how people like to jerk off with each other, how guys like to jerk off with each other, how guys like to suck off each other, different kinds of ways to suck off each other, testimonials to that, poetry about that. There's, whatever I could find, it was a scattershot approach, but it was not describe this. The pickle that I got into was that I was sincerely into all this stuff. The world of Don Clark and his associates, he was running these powerful weekend workshops that assisted him. They were wonderful experiences for me. I was becoming much more full in my body. And I discovered by becoming that way that I got called to more from that. And that didn't happen. I don't know, it didn't stay uncooked. I don't know how to describe this otherwise to share this level of why I was not satisfied enough with this. I could have made a whole life at this level. What I was trying to do at this is what originally was my master's thesis. The Sisters of the Sacred Heart, as I described last time, couldn't handle it, of course. For me to demand the sisters to handle those poor things. They'd never been exposed to this. This is not what the sisters want to see. And as I described last time, they said, no. Sorry, we won't allow this to be. So I had a strange double revenge. I was not looking for revenge, but this eventually became a book. This is this book, and it went through like 13 printings and 2 editions. It's really a strange kind of thing that came out of all this. And it then led to this even stranger experience was not the thing I was looking for. So if you imagine earlier becoming, like Don Clark was teaching, becoming humanized as homosexual, was attracting a lot of interest, and a serious interest by folks who wanted to get clear themselves. And so I learned from Don how, his mainly focused on his efforts during his weekends, but took it very seriously with folks. It's hard to describe. Oh, I'm sorry. It's hard to describe how he would be able to get people to become so naked with each other, not just merely in terms of clothes, but in terms of how you felt that to be seeing another see you, seeing and see you, more and more naked, and gradually it would not stop. He would keep. How he could, what's next to do that? I don't know how he did it. It was really amazing. And more than a year, nobody would think that as a professional psychologist. My job was to assist him after I begged him to take him. I told the story last time I met him. And I was still a young bunny. I was barely 21. But he had me help him because he's a big, strong kid. Carry up the furniture. His cottage in the middle of this block of buildings in San Francisco, a cottage. We would clear out all the furniture. And then we would go shopping. I would be in charge of various duties during the weekend. So, for example, the indoor cooking, because at certain ritual times we'd go out to eat, which he would manage then. And then I'm not allowed to be involved, no one would be involved in cooking. But when it would be things like breakfast and stuff, it would be like my job. And to participate, as he insisted, and everyone assisted him, and himself had to participate in it. Everything was structured according to exercises or activities, exactly how they would be described at the time. It was the first of its kind that was going around being who you really were sexually. He wasn't just interested in if you were homosexual. So there'd be other kinds of sexualities there, and sometimes transsexual energies as well. And on occasion, a straight person would actually be there. Usually, the majority were gay men, one kind or another. They'd fly from all over the world, and this would start on Friday evening and in the middle of Sunday afternoon. And the transformation would be utterly mind-blowing, not because you knew lots of clever exercises, because of how these exercises would allow utter strangers. I don't know, most of these people weren't even Don's clients, few were. Many of them he only knew after interviewing them on the telephone, so it would have to be a telephone conversation, it wouldn't just take people and just speak on the street. I never was involved with things like how much it cost and all that. I was myself never involved with that line. Just would be there and help Don pull out all the furniture would be completely empty. This little cottage, a little one-bedroom cottage, but it would have a wall-to-wall carpet, shack carpet at the time. He would not only have us all physically naked by the end of that first evening, beginning to feel that the way that moral people are is indeed real, unfortunate. And now there's an opportunity for at least a few hours to look underneath that and why bother, and being shown a little of why that could be bothered with. How he could do that would take a whole time to explain to you. And he's a very, really delightful fellow at facilitating at a simple enough level, such that by the time we would be ready for a full day of experience with these exercises we would facilitate on Saturday and Saturday, we would already be easily open to what later on we would understand in Jungian ways as things we felt or sensed were very inferior about ourselves, or that we were in pain about most particularly, or that were indeed of traumatic nature. And that's one of the first places I learned. It always come out on Saturdays, and we would have us go through these series of exercises that would be in terms of what would bring out how people really felt about themselves, deeper levels